What's up, everybody? Back with another video. So, I feel like I'm coming out of rock bottom. Um, I don't know. I just felt like a couple days ago. I just felt, man, I had so many thoughts in my head, negative thoughts, and it was just clouding everything. It was, I was focused on the worst case scenario, and part of me just said, you know what, enough of that. Um, Let me try some rape. For those that don't know, rape is the tobacco made by, I think, Amazonians. It's legit stuff. It's not like they make it some factory. I mean, I would hope not. Um, this stuff's like, I'm pretty sure it's handmade. It's got some other ingredients. It's not the bastardized version of tobacco that you might smoke a cigarette or something. I mean, there's so many chemicals. I think there's like 400 different chemicals added to the tobacco in a cigarette. It's not like that. So check it out on your own if you're interested. But I feel like that helped me just clear so much energy, or it happened on its own. But I'm going to just attribute it to that because that's really the only thing that, I mean, it could have been also these recent solar flares that we had. I think we just got impacted today or last night. I think it was last night because some of my coworkers were posting photos of the kind of a aurora borealis. But we're in Minnesota. I don't know if you'd still call it, but the night sky lights. So there was different hues of like green and red and maybe blue. I'm not sure, but the photos look really cool. I went to bed already. I wish I'd gone outside and saw that. But I think there'll be other opportunities. Maybe even tonight. Excuse me. I just ate. I feel like I'm so full. And I think we got a X class 5.3 solar flare on the way, and so maybe like the water when the water recedes before a tide comes in. If you ever saw the ocean or even a beach on a lake, but a lake's not as good of an example because there's not a ton of waves on a lake like there are in the ocean. But I feel like it was that. Like the wave was receding before that impact happened. And I was at rock bottom. Like I said, I was at my lowest point where I was just like, I had thoughts of suicide, but I mean, I wouldn't do it. But the thoughts come up, and I don't know if they're mine or where they come from. I would say it's kind of a karmic thing. But that's when I know I've hit rock bottom. And actually, I mean, if we're counting that as a standard, I've probably hit rock bottom like at least 5 times this year, probably. Or in the last year, at least 5 times, maybe 5 to 10 times. Just because you hit some low points and you just never think that it's going to end, and eventually it does. But it's really tough. It's just like, how many more of those do I have to go through? And I think I had a particularly hard life, like in general, and a ton of ancestral karma or ancestral lineage things that I inherited from the DNA that I got in this body. And so, yeah, I'm just, clearing that, man, it sucks. Like, part of me hates my higher self. Like, why would you put me through this? Even though from my understanding, I mean, it's about to get really good, and I'm going to have the life that I never would have dreamed. It's been a rough road where sometimes I just wanted to give up. I just didn't want to be here anymore. And other people have it worse than I do, I suppose situationally, right? Like homeless people or whoever, but I don't know, some of these feelings are just overwhelming. It doesn't matter if you're homeless or if you got a place, if you're rich, if you're poor, if you're whatever. Um, Emotions are emotions, and they can be really hard to feel, to process. I suppose that's why so many people kind of push them down or um, try to, yeah, I mean, just get away from, try not to feel them, right? We do so many things in society. We distract ourselves with internet and social media. We drink, we do drugs, smoke weed, you name it, anything just to not feel. And I don't drink anymore. I've been drinking in years. Um, but I definitely am still struggling here and there with social media addiction or just, being on my phone probably too much. So, I mean, yesterday I think was the first day where I was like, enough of that. You can only watch so many tarot readings before you're just like, I'm hearing the same thing over and over. And some things I don't even give a shit about, anymore. Like, you're going to be rich in a short time. Money, money, money coming in. Great. Show me the fucking money because I'm tired of hearing about it. I don't want to hear about it anymore. If it's coming, that's great. If it's not, well, whatever. I mean, I'm just, obviously I hope it's coming, but I'm tired of hearing about it. I want to see it. I've been hearing about it for years. What's another one? Maybe fame or success. Um, you know, Being happy, unconditional love. Tired of hearing about all of it. Show me the money. Show it to me. And maybe I got to go through the steps first. Fine. I'm tired of hearing about it. This is like turning into more of a rant. I'm not even sure what to talk about on here. I know I'm supposed to be on here, and maybe one day it'll just hit me, and I'll just realize, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be talking about, or this is what you guys want to hear. Right now, there's hardly anybody even watching my channel. Maybe I need to do some better thumbnails or better topics that people actually want to hear. I don't know. I don't know what I should be talking about, but at the very least, I guess I have this a diary or something, because if I come on here every day, which I haven't been, but that's the goal, the end goal. I'm really trying to just pull things in from my everyday life of like, what's happening to me, and maybe it's happening to you if you're guided to this video. I do believe that regardless if the video was made a day ago or a year ago, that if you came across my video, you were meant to hear something specific in that video that would help you. And I've been through it. So, I think when I reach the other side, whenever that is, I'm sure I'll have a bountiful array of things that I can offer to people or help them through because I've been through it all. um, and yeah, I'm not even sure what else to say. What was that? There was some stuff I was going to talk about, but I did yoga today for the first time, like almost a full set, more than I've done in a while. I was able to do Surya Kriya and yogasanas, and then I started to do Shakti Chalana Kriya, which is just a pranayama, working with the breath. Before I got sidetracked and ran an errand, I probably had no business running anyways or doing. I should have just finished my yoga, but it was good to have that closure. I went to the ex's place and I dropped off some boxes and whatnot. Kind of got into an altercation, but I'm not blaming anybody for the altercation. I just need to move on from that relationship. That's the bottom line. Whether I start dating someone new or if I can just do yoga consistently to where I can clear my compulsions, maybe for having to masturbate or to, um, really needing to have sex, or watch porn or anything like that. I don't watch a ton of porn, but sometimes I do, especially now that I'm single. I was used to having sex whenever I wanted because I was married and just had to ask for it. Um, but now, it's going on a week and a half, so it's not terribly long, but I haven't had sex in a week and a half. I mean, that's or so. Maybe it's like a little over a week. So that's kind of hard for me. I've been really horny. I don't know. I don't know who needs to hear this or know this. If you're a guy, I think you might understand. If you're a woman, you're like, what the fuck is he talking about? I don't want to hear about that he's horny and this and that. But you know, um, I think because I've been able to have sex when I was married whenever I wanted, and in the past, I kind of almost went like relationship to relationship to relationship. Of course, there was some time in between, but I really think that there's this that, of course, sex is like a driving factor in. I think if for men, anyways, I'll just speak for men. I'll speak to the men. For men, and I can just speak for myself. But if you resonate, great. Leave a comment, like the video. I could talk more about this, but somebody said this, and I forgot who said it exactly, but sex determines like 90% of the choices that we make in our life, right? Like, where do we live? What kind of car do we drive? What kind of clothes do we wear? How do we talk to people? What are our extracurricular activities? Um, all those for men kind of revolve around sex in a way. And I don't know, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but right, if you want to attract a high quality, hot girl, maybe you want to drive a BMW or drive a nice car. I don't drive that, but I mean, maybe you do. I think we all would if we could maybe afford a BMW and buy it. Um, or the kind of house, like where do we live? I used to live in Uptown, and I'm in Minnesota, and so um, I I don't know if there's anybody that's going to watch this from Minnesota, but Uptown, there's a lot of beautiful women in Uptown, and so I feel like that's a great place to live if you're single and you're trying to meet women. Um, and so where you live, what kind of house do you live in, are all going to kind of maybe determine, like if you're married, obviously these things aren't a factor. Now it's more about trying to please the wife, or if you got kids, maybe you're thinking about, she's thinking about more so probably, what school system is there, is it a safe neighborhood? um so but before you're married, and maybe you got money, maybe you don't, um you're maybe again deciding where to live based on sexual preferences and on what you can afford and what you can't afford. What kind of clothes you wear, what kind of woman do you want to attract, might be determined by the kind of clothes you wear. If you're dressing up in suits and dressing kind of snazzy, or um, upper class, even if you're pretending that like you have money, you're dressing nice so you can attract that kind of woman into your life. This is how men think. I think I'm generalizing. This is how I think, I suppose. Not that not that I've ever done any of these things. Like, I drive a Prius for the gas mileage, so I'm not buying my car based on picking up women, I guess. So I guess I'm different in that regard. But I think I bought the Prius for the gas mileage to save on um, gas costs, and so I guess for me, I guess I'm not as focused on that. But probably at one point when I was younger, I was more focused on that. But it might have been more about where I live. The car was never really an issue for me. It's just something that gets me around. Um, how I dressed. Definitely, you got to have nice, clean clothes when you're going out. These days I don't care. I might have worn this shirt for a couple days now. I work from home, so um, it doesn't really matter what I wear or how I look. I don't even do anything with my hair anymore. Um, it's just for me. It's all about simple living right now. I'm not trying to appease women, or I'm not going that direction to try to address or look or come off a certain way so I can get a certain type of girl. I think at this point I know who I am and I know what I want. And I've kind of gone down this spiritual path, maybe even too spiritual. I'm like the hermit over here. But, you know, if everything works out, this YouTube channel will take off eventually. And, um, there'll always be I guess I'm not sure what I'm trying to say here, but yeah, right now spirituality is such a big part of my life. I need somebody else that's spiritual, that thinks along the same lines, somebody I can talk to, somebody I can bounce ideas off of, or have that connection with. I didn't have that with my wife. I could talk to her about it, but she didn't really like. There was a few times I think where we had gotten in some arguments, and I think she was trying to appease me, and so she was entertaining my ideas, and so she would say, "Oh, you talk to your higher self," and I talked to my higher self, and she said this, or whatever. But then more often than not, I would talk about stuff, and the conversation would kind of fizzle out, and it would get maybe taken in a different direction. And so, I mean, spirituality to me right now is really all about well-being, right? I'm not going to go to the bar and drink a bunch of booze to meet a girl, or to have friends. I'm I'm more about well-being and treating this vessel in the best way possible, so that I can be the best way in all other ways possible. Um, and so, I need somebody who reflects that. If you're drinking, even if you just have a glass of wine or something like that, I mean, that's your choice. I'm not gonna judge you if you have a glass of wine, but if you're getting tipsy every other night, that's a problem for me, because I'm not gonna do that with you. But, you know, what's that doing to your body, and how maybe mentally stable are you? Is that somebody that I want to be with? I don't know. I'm kind of judging maybe right now. I guess I mean, I'm just saying it's something I would consider if I was dating somebody. So, still probably going to be the hermit for, I don't know, a few more months, maybe up to 6 months. I'm hoping. It's not really dependent on me. It's dependent on spirit and the divine, and how they guide my life. Um, Opportunities are supposed to be coming my way at some point, and when those opportunities happen, then I'll hopefully I pick the right one. But for right now, I was told I didn't really need to do anything. Like, I've done everything I need to do. Maybe I just need to rest and relax. But I man, my stomach's. I don't know if I ate too much. Probably ate too much. The stomach doesn't feel too good right now. Um, the yoga makes me feel better. It gets my mind off of well, I think that I think the big thing is this. it it can minimize your compulsions, right? If you're thinking about sex a lot, it can calm that down. It can, over time, it's not going to happen. Oh, I did yoga today. I don't think about sex at all, right? Because the average guy thinks about sex like every 6 seconds. I don't know. I think they did a study at one point. I don't know if how that's true, or if that's dependent on that's such a big generalization. But I feel like I did monitor. For me, it's at one point, at least, it was around that. Like you know the way that women dress these days, and I'm not blaming them. I'm not shaming women for how they dress, but if they're wearing like spandex or some tight leggings or whatever they call them, it's hard not to look at their ass. And of course, it's not appropriate or polite to stare at somebody's ass, but I mean, it's there. Even if it's a subconscious thing, where like you're not thinking about it, but somehow you're just aroused. um, so yeah, anyways, yoga can help with the compulsions. Sometimes when I'm feeling really low, I talked about this in another video, but the other day I went to the grocery store and just binged on a bunch of, I got like I mean, for me, it was a binge because I don't usually eat like that at all. But I got like a Bavarian cream donut, and I got a pint of eggnog, and a pint of ice cream. Maybe it was a quart of eggnog and a pint of ice cream. And I ate all of it except for like a little bit of eggnog, and I felt really sick after. But I was feeling in a really low state, and for whatever reason, the mind works the way it works. I thought that would make me feel better. Let me just eat something I can enjoy. And I enjoyed the hell out of that food. I didn't scarf it down. That ice cream, I was like, savoring it, melting in my mouth. I was like, so good. But it was really the eggnog. I had to lay down after eating that. It was so heavy. I felt sick. Like I wanted to take a nap, but when I laid down, I wasn't tired. Couldn't fall asleep. Ended up laying there for like a half hour or something. And then I got up and I ate the ice cream. But that day was the worst day of all of them, where the energies were receding. Like I said, that wave of the ocean, before the wave comes in and crashes, that receding of the water, maybe that was my energies receding before that wave of energies came in and hit. And I don't know how it all works. I'm just metaphorically, that's what I think was happening. And so I felt at my lowest, and my mind was out of control. Negative thought after negative thought. Why does this always happen to me? I feel like nothing ever happens. Nothing good ever happens to me. Just a spiral. I was just spiraling that day. And so then I went and got that junk food, and, whatever happened the next day, I did feel better. But what do they always say? It's darkest before the dawn. And that's what that was for me. Maybe a dark night of the soul. You could say that. Like I said, of the many that I've had this year so far. So yeah, gonna be alone. I don't know how long. I know the divine has somebody lined up for me, somebody that's manifesting me, I guess. But I don't know when that's gonna happen, or if it happens, or if I meet somebody before then, or whatever. I guess for right now, I'm gonna try to do the yoga so that I don't feel that compulsive necessity to have sex. I feel like that's something that needs to be broken within me, a pattern. And so no masturbation, or if I do, I can't think about anybody, like watch porn. I can't even fantasize about ex-wife or whoever. Just straight up masturbation or whatever. I think that's if I needed to do that, I could do that. But I think the goal would be just to retain my seed, because you do lose some energy um, from masturbation. Um, what else to talk about? I don't know. I feel like that's a good discussion for today. Yeah. Yesterday I meditated for the first time in a little while since I moved and everything. I mean, if you're not counting yoga, because yoga is a type of meditation as well, but I meditated. That was so I did the rapé, I did a coffee enema, and then I meditated after that for a good half hour. I did was it be in the presence of Sadhguru? That was like a 10-minute thing. And then I did a little bit of Shakti Chalana Kriya yesterday before going to bed. But that, I feel like, was all that yesterday. I think it was yesterday. I feel like that really changed my trajectory of just where I was going. And it could have, like I said, it could have been a multitude of things between the solar flares and the energies, but also maybe the practices. I've got so many tools in my tool belt, so to speak. And so I feel like doing the rapé and the coffee enemas help to kind of clear some of that um, dense, I don't know, negative energy of just maybe a self-criticism, self-doubt, whatever, I don't know, and any of those kind of things. Um, and so I wouldn't say happy would be the word that I would use to describe it, but definitely not as down on myself. So it brought me up. The coffee enema um, is kind of like just clearing out the liver. Um, it has a sympathetic resonance with the liver that helps the liver just flush out whatever's in it. That really helped. Whatever I had in my liver, probably from the junk food and everything that I ate, that helped to just clear some of that out. And you just feel so much better and lighter after that. Um, and then the yoga. So, getting off YouTube, for me, listening to tarot readings and all these things, it's just, there's just only so many things you can hear so many times before you just get sick of it. And you're just like, oh, what am I doing? Let me do something productive. Let me meditate, or let me, even the music at a certain point for me was like, I was down on that. Like I felt like whatever I was making was like garbage, or I felt stuck. Like, where do I go from here? I had no inspiration whatsoever um, with it. And so just all sectors of me were just like down, like life sucks. This is awful. What am I doing here? And I could meditate now after I get done with this video, but I might work on some music, and then try to keep up with the kriyas, the practices tomorrow. Because I do feel they're helpful, beneficial. Um, maybe I can get through the whole set, but no promises. I'm not going to put any type of I don't know, guarantees on myself about that. But it's so, I forget, like back in like August, not August, May or April or May earlier this year is kind of when I was feeling guided to like figure out what I want in my life. Like, what do I want? Otherwise, my life isn't going to go well. And I didn't know what it meant at that time, but I do now. And so at that time, I put down yoga to get back into music. And that was kind of a whole thing in itself. And but the music was for me because I had a passion for it. I still do. I gave it up like 10 years ago to pursue other things, to pursue to have money. I guess I was tired of being a starving artist. I wasn't making any money off the music. It was purely a joy, something I love to do. But I had to change. I had to do something different, so that I could make some money. So I feel like I could have some semblance of a happy life, or at least that's what I thought. And then when I had came to a certain point with making money, then I felt kind of lost again. Once I reached a certain point, and I had more money than I, I'm not a millionaire, so I don't want to say like, oh, I had so much money, but the amount of money I come in, I'd never seen in my life before. And so I was able to um, buy some rental properties and invest in things, and so I got into real estate, and I started buying and selling properties, and I kind of went down that road. But circling back now, I'm just getting into spirituality, just bringing, everybody needs something that they're passionate about in their life. And for me, that's music, but other people, it might be painting. And there's so many different forms of music I produce, like electronic music. Doesn't even have to be electronic. I like to play stuff on the piano and get something going that sounds good. I'll throw some drums in there, whatever. But I also play guitar. I'm not very good. I'm not like, I've been playing for years. I think I have like a year or something under my belt. But there's so many different forms of music. Whether you play an instrument and you enjoy it, maybe you play in a band, whatever it is. Yeah, like I said, maybe you paint, maybe you, whatever it is, you got to find that joy in your life, something that makes you happy, and then do that. So that was part of it. Um, this is the part of like building myself back up, figuring out what I want in my life and what's going to make me happy. Going to the gym was the next thing. Really just building up that muscle mass for me, making me feel good about myself, but also building that bone density and fascia and muscle and all the other things that make a body healthy. But it really raised my self-esteem when I did that. And seeing the other girls in the gym, and they're all attractive. My wife, she doesn't work out or anything. Not to say she's not attractive, and I wasn't comparing, but just keep in mind, like, we didn't have the best of relationship really ever. The beginning of the relationship was the best, and then it just kind of went downhill after that. I feel like, were there good times and stuff here and there? Yeah, definitely. I don't want to like disregard the whole relationship, but there were just so many arguments and fights over nothing. And as much as I tried not to fight, she just loved drama. Um, and at a certain point, I mean, that, I don't know how long I want this video to be, and I got to leave stuff to talk about on other days. But I watched a tarot reading actually where there were 3 relationships in my life, and this might be different for all the people that might have watched that video, but I know those 3 relationships, and all those 3 relationships were trying to get me into spirituality, to go down that path. And it wasn't supposed to be until later in my life anyways, and here I am, 44. 44 years old. I've been in spirituality since 2022, so I was like around 40. It was around the same time we had kids too. My wife had kids. We had kids together. Um, and um, I got into spirituality because there was no way we were going to work out as a couple had I just stayed who I was at that moment. If it wasn't for yoga and meditation and even microdosing mushrooms and psychedelics, rape, combo ceremonies, cacao ceremonies, I don't know, you name it. I tried everything to get to this point because I had two relationships, and the one before this one was particularly devastating. Not because we were right for each other, but I thought that she was the one, which the first relationship, she wasn't the one. I mean, even when we first started dating, she was like cussing at me, like, why the fuck aren't you here? You're such a pussy or something. Fuck you, whatever. She said the worst. Like, we weren't even boyfriend and girlfriend at that time. Why did I date her? I don't know. She was attractive. So I'm like following my dick at this point, like most men do. Obviously, I don't do that anymore. I try not to. I hope I'm moving away from that. So that was the first relationship. The second relationship, the woman comes out. We'd been friends for a little while. One day she tells me she thinks she's in love with me or whatever. She comes over. We start dating. Well, I thought she was beautiful. I thought we both had this commonality of like real estate at the time, and I was flipping houses. She had kind of flipped her own house with a husband. She was married at the time. And so we had this commonality. She obviously got divorced and left her husband. I thought this was it. Like, this was the one. I could see myself with this woman forever. Well, looking back, we had some commonalities, but really everything we did was her. Like, we listened to the music that she wanted to listen to. When I think I played my music one day, and she was like, she was fine with it. I don't think she complained. I don't remember offhand. She might have made a comment or two, but it seemed like that was kind of it. Like, all right, we're not going to listen to that anymore. We heard it. Good. Okay, we're good. Now let's go back to my music. So we mostly listened to her music. We did the things that she wanted to do. It was a very unbalanced relationship. I became less and less of myself and more of what she wanted. But when we decided to split up, I was devastated. I went to therapy for a couple of years, and then I met my ex-wife. I manifested her, I think. Really, I just told the universe, I said, just give me someone that's attractive, and that'll let me have sex whenever I want. Stupid man dreams, childish man dreams, or immature man dreams, because I wouldn't manifest that now. I think I was just tired of the fighting and stuff. So like, just give me someone who will just be obedient to whatever I'm doing. Just go with the flow of, let me lead the show. Which I think if you watch like any Teal Swan, that's really a lot about what she talks about. I don't want to confuse it because I haven't done any of your programs. I've just listened to what she's had to say, and that's what the man is supposed to do, is kind of be the leader, run the show, make the decisions, be the provider, be the protector, all these things. But because of the society, over masculinated society that we're in, women tend to be more masculine, especially my wife, because her mom was the masculine in the relationship. Her mom was the one that worked multiple jobs and does all the things, and the husband stayed at home and took care of the kids and the house and whatever. And so I feel like she was entrained from a young age, well, this is what the dynamic is supposed to be, because her previous relationships, not all of them, at least one of them in particular, was I think a couple of her relationships were very feminine in nature, that the man was very feminine because she was the masculine in the relationship. And that's, well, I don't want to say that's true for our relationship, but we were both we bumped heads a lot because she was trying to be the masculine in the relationship, but I was also trying to be the masculine in the relationship. Like feminine wasn't my natural quality. We all have masculine and feminine, but for me, I was just a doer most of my life. Anyways, I forget how I went down this rabbit hole. So 3 people that I dated, any one of them could have brought me into spirituality, and it was the last one. And we had kids, so I would say I probably would have left her a long time ago, um, if we hadn't had kids. We were together 7 years. We wouldn't have made it 7 years if we didn't have kids. So I feel like the previous relationship was devastating for me. In terms of like, I thought this was it, but then I realized, like, I'm not saying I was the only one with issues, but I realized in that relationship, like, okay, I need to work on myself. There's something that's broken within me or that doesn't quite work right. Like if I keep going the way I'm going, I'm never going to end up happy the way I want to be happy. Or I'll never have a relationship that works the way I want it to, because there were just so many traumas and karmas, all kinds of things that I knew that I was only part of the problem, but I was a problem and I needed to fix those things. So that's what going to the therapy was for. And then I started meditating and doing psychedelics and microdosing to feel better before I got into yoga and other things. So being with my wife and having the kids forced me to work on myself. And she had the patience, I'll give her that, to want to stay with me and work things out with me. Only until we get to the point of where we're at now, whereas we're not together anymore. But I think she's stable with the kids. I'm financially stable and able to support us still, even though we're not together. I forget where I was going with all that. The 3 relationships to get me into spirituality. Yeah. Anyways, here we are. I guess I'm on the spiritual path that I was supposed to be on, that I had a soul contract that I was supposed to be here. I'm still going to be a part of my kids' lives and still spend time with them. I guess it's just more, right now it's more about being present and intentional with the time without being there full time or 24/7. They just have to spend the time with me that we have together. And I have to be more present with them, but I don't have to be there every second of every day in order to be a strong father figure for them. And so that's my hope. And yeah, being single for a little while. We'll see how that goes. I was told I can date, but I don't. I feel like I'm so spiritual. Like I don't. Like 99.9% of people out there are not going to match me, or I wouldn't match them. I don't drink. My whole day revolves around meditation, yoga. Even my cooking has become a sadhana of sorts. If you talk to ChatGPT, it's cooking sadhana because of the way I cook. It's good for my body, and it's I used to just cook really fast. So let me throw some in the air fryer or cook it really fast on the stovetop, pan fry it or something like that. And now it's like slow cooking, really eating nourishing meals, eating food really slowly and making sure I chew it, 50 chews per bite or something like that, drinking the broth and really just imbibing the whole experience. And how many people out there are like that? I think there are people in the world that are like that, but in my neck of the woods, there's not many. So I don't know. Maybe I should put myself out there and get on a dating app or something and try to date somebody, or maybe go to some meetups or hangouts um, with other spiritual like-minded people. Those are a couple possibilities. Otherwise, I just wait for my YouTube channel to blow up or take off, and um, you know, maybe I'll have some programs, and I'll have some, I'll just run into people that way. So, and those are kind of my two options right now. I'm not sure which way to go. If you're single, hit me up. Just kidding. Um, use my YouTube channel as a dating app. Um, Anyways, I think that's all I got. It's a pretty long video for me. But I don't know. If you're listening to this point, hopefully there was some value in there. Maybe you resonated with, how your life is going, and maybe going similar to mine. And if there was any value of like working through some of these things, hopefully in the future I can add more value, I guess. And maybe you guys can help. Like, tell me what you want to hear. What do you want me to talk about? We could even do a Zoom chat and just talk out loud about things. So yeah, I'm open to whatever. We can take this channel wherever it wants to go. But if you like what I had to say, if you're still listening to this point, like, subscribe, I guess, all the things. Comment. Let me know what you like that I talked about. What would you like me to talk more about? Yeah. Otherwise, thanks. See ya.